If you want to have a meaningful conversation in English, then all you need to do is... Hey everyone, my name is Wes. This is Interactive English, which is all about helping you practice and improve your English skills. And today, I want to talk to you about starting conversations in English and how to start a meaningful conversation. We get questions from learners all the time about, what's the best way to start a conversation? What should I talk about? What should I ask? For example, I know many English learners, if they can't think of anything to say and they don't know what to talk about, then they may revert to a question like, well, how's the weather? Let's talk about the weather because I can't think of anything else right now. And again, you can have a conversation and talk about the weather. Both of you know what it's like, but it may not be what you really want to discuss. And that's what I want to talk to you about in this lesson, how you can get to that point where you can have a meaningful conversation and you feel confident, you feel comfortable, and you can keep the conversation going. So I'm going to give you 3 main suggestions throughout the lesson that's going to help you approach someone when you want to begin a conversation. So the first suggestion that I have for you is to put the conversation on the other person. Too often, I think learners enter into a conversation, even native speakers do this, and they worry too much about what they're going to say. They're worried that they're going to say the wrong thing, or perhaps they think that, well, what if I don't know enough information about this topic? So what I'm suggesting is just don't worry about all that. Just put the conversation on the other person so that they're doing most of the talking, especially at the beginning. And that will allow you a little more time to get comfortable, to get confident, and then you can share your thoughts and opinions. I think this is actually a pretty easy thing to do because, well, let's be honest. Many people like talking about themselves. If somebody is asking me questions, then yeah, I am going to share information with them because I do. I want to talk about the places I've been. I want to talk about the things that I've done. So as you enter the conversation, try to keep that mindset that you are going to put the conversation on them. You're trying to get them to share more information with you. And in doing so, you will need to ask more questions. Make sure that you're going to ask open-ended questions because that's going to allow people to share more about their thoughts, their opinions, their ideas. Because if you just ask close-ended questions and they say yes or no, that's not going to help you keep the conversation going. Now, one thing you may be thinking is, okay, well, where do I begin? What question could I ask to just about anybody to really get the ball rolling and start that conversation? So I think a general, simple question that you can ask somebody is, well, what do you do? After you introduce yourself, hi, my name's Wes, nice to meet you, they introduce themselves, then you can ask them, so what do you do? What do you do for a living? And that allows people to open up a little, and that is a great starting point, especially if you just don't know this person at all. So this is a great way to break the ice, to start a conversation with somebody you don't know, and it is a little meaningful because you are learning some important information about that person. You are learning what they do for a living. Another way to put the conversation on another person is just to ask for some help or advice. And 2 questions that you could use is, do you know how to? Or would you happen to know? Those are questions that you can use and are common when you want to ask for some help. And this really depends on the situation that you're in. Maybe you're at some event and you don't know where to go. This actually happened to me recently. I was attending a conference. There was going to be a meeting, but I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know what room I should be in. I saw somebody else because they had a name tag, and I knew that she was also going to be at this meeting. So I just went up and I asked her some advice. I said, hey, would you know how to get to this room? Where should we be? Unfortunately, she didn't know either, but we were able to look for the meeting together, and during this time, we were having a conversation. I introduced myself, she introduced herself, and we were able to talk a little bit about what we do. So it was an easy way to start that conversation. I needed help. I needed advice. Another way to put the conversation on somebody else is to give a little information about yourself and then ask a question. For example, you could say, wow, I really love something. How about you? What do you think about this? Again, ask those open-ended questions. Give the other person more time to respond and share information and put the conversation on them. The next suggestion that I have for you is to find shared experiences. Find things that you have in common with this other person because that's going to give you more to talk about, but it's also more meaningful. If you can find some different experiences that you have in common, that you have shared, that will will give you a lot to talk about. And it's also going to really help you connect with that other person. So, for example, when you're trying to find a shared experience, consider your surroundings. Where are you? Because if you are at a party, a festival, an event, then that is an experience right there that you have in common with everyone else. So you could walk up to somebody and start the conversation and ask them, I've never been to one of these things before. How about you? Or maybe you could ask a question and say, so what brings you here? Why are you at this party? Why are you at this event? Who do you know? That is a simple and easy way to start a conversation. You can also consider the time of year. What is happening around this time? Are there any holidays, festivals? Because we all share those experiences. For example, if somebody is in the United States, then I could ask them, do you have any plans for the 4th of July? Do you have any plans for Thanksgiving? Do you have any plans for New Year's? And this could easily be a shared experience that you have with another person if you also have plans for a time of year or if you're going to celebrate a certain holiday. So try to find some shared experiences because it's a way to have a more meaningful conversation, but it also gives you a lot more to talk about. The next suggestion is to keep the conversation going. And this may actually be a challenging thing to do because if you start a conversation and you're talking to another person and you're asking questions and you're sharing your thoughts and opinions, but as time goes on, you may think, wow, I'm running out of things to say. I don't know what to talk about next. The one thing I will tell you is that you need to feel comfortable and confident when it comes to transitioning to a new topic because silence can be the killer of a conversation, and you don't want that to happen. So try to keep the conversation going, try to perhaps find another shared experience, and transition to a new topic, and there are a number of questions that you can use to do that. So let me give you some examples about how you could possibly transition to another topic. You could ask general questions about a person's life. What are you doing this weekend? What have you been up to lately? Or what have you been watching lately? Many people are watching something on Netflix or HBO. So this is another way to try and ask some questions and search for those shared experiences. You could go back to asking for advice. If there's something that you want to know, that you need help with, you could just say, could you recommend Could you recommend something and tell them why? Tell them why you want some advice. Tell them why you want some help. Because in general, I think people like to give advice. They like to share their expertise and offer help when they can. It is a great way to transition to a new topic. One more way to keep the conversation going and transition to a new topic is think about what's happening in the world. Think of some things that you know about. That's part of considering your surrounding. This is a great way to transition to another topic, but make sure that you are transitioning to topics that you know about, that you feel comfortable talking about, and try to transition to that topic, that event, and continue finding shared experiences so you can keep the conversation going and make it meaningful. So let's practice this, and we're going to do a role play. I am going to introduce myself. I then want you to introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you a question. And I'll put a timer up there so you know how long you have to speak. Are you ready? All right, let's begin with the introductions. Hey, how's it going? My name's Wes. It's very nice to meet you. So what do you do? Wow, I've always been so interested in learning more about that. What are some of the things that you like or even some of the things that you don't like about it? Really? That's amazing. So, did you hear what's going on with American politics? That's crazy. What do you think? All right. So, at the end there, I was just trying to transition to another topic and keep the conversation going, but you get the idea. So, I hope these suggestions help you the next time you want to go in and start a meaningful conversation with another person. If you enjoyed this lesson, please hit that like button down below and write to us in the comments. Start a conversation with me, with other people who are writing comments. That is a great way to practice your English. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.